Yeah, of course. Tana Tucker is the actress singer. She's an activist for Israel. She's the one at the Grammys wore the yellow ribbon on her dress. Yes. She's went to Israel. They had a big thing. They awarded her. I mean, she's going all over the place. You know, as an advocate, she's going to be doing a Hadassah, from Vegas. This girl is insane. So I know that she's went to Nova and had some of the hostages and they did some things. I don't know if that was something.
No, at Nova, it's a cemetery. Just about everybody on a post with flowers or plants around. I mean, it's a field of dead people. And it's horrific. You know, it's just horrific. And interesting driving,
Move to the deep south.
driving back, so we're really on the Gaza border.
Got to change your name because you can't let people know. I went to a Knights of Columbus. All my name is June Jones. That's my wife, Penelope Jones. So what religion are you? Well, we're Goyim.
Hi. So there's something coming up in a month.
I assume you got the.
Yeah, I never sent it out to you, but I got it. Yeah.
Okay.
Very good.
Yeah.
I was going to say a few words about Arts of the Living when I talk, just to introduce what it is and what it's about, not about your trip.
You can talk up my talk on Wednesday night.
That's what, right, but I don't want to say anything that.
Yeah, it is certainly a nice introduction.
And so we put it on this that we were wearing, and they have yellow ribbon.
Maybe you've done a PowerPoint or something.
Yeah. PowerPoint, exactly.
And my tiny yellow ribbon around it.
That's what I associated it with.
We probably would not stay in contact with anybody because we didn't really, because they didn't go on to Israel with us. Most of them stayed.
It's very interesting.
So we didn't create such a.
And there was no one that you really knew.
Right. How about you? Did you keep in touch with anybody?
Well, only through the tour guide. I had been contact with by email for time. Of course, she's in South Africa. Not in touch with her any other way. But the last time that I tried to send her an email, it wouldn't go through, and they said this address only accepts people that she knows or whatever. So I wasn't able to even send her.
They gave us the email addresses of everybody that was in the book, and we're on WhatsApp, so that every now and then we get a shot.
Just curious.
Didn't have the ribbon on. What is
I
that?
know a lot of people have had very close relationships after.
Yeah.
We were sitting.
We became family when we were there, but so far it hasn't sustained itself.
No, it's for the husband. And she went, oh, You know, I mean, so it's interesting the reactions that it gets.
And I took my yellow pen. Did you see the nature?
Yes.
Because I was looking at, because Bobby had sent me pictures, Bobby Green.
You ready?
And so,
You rested?
and I'm looking for this, and I went, I said, "You know,
They're not gonna,
and then I looked,
I think you're okay.
yeah, well, Bobby's brother, Bobby, Marla, and Alana.
Oh,
So I saw
okay,
you,
so
and then I saw Alana.
right.
Bobby, and I saw that, I'm going,
Start. So if you have not yet put on your talit, please rise, and we'll say the bracha together. Let me make Bonnie a co-host. Hello, everybody online. Good to see you.
Wait. What? How come
Are you still there?
I am, yes, there I am. Okay. Oh, I guess so.
Okay. All right, and let us say the bracha together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehitatef b'tzitzit. And please be seated, and we continue on page 14 with the preliminary psalms that help us to set the mood for services. Yisrael Hashamayim, Yisrael Hashamayim, Yisrael Hashamayim, V'tagel haaretz. Yeram Hayam, Yeram Hayam, Yeram Hayam, oh, Yeram Hayam, Yeram Hayam, Yeram Hayam, Oshia et Amecha, Barech et Nachlatecha, Orein, 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 Benase, Orein, Benase, Mara Olam, Oshia et Amecha, Ubarech et Nachlatecha, Orein, 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 Benase, Orein, Benase, Mara Olam. Mizmor Shir, Shir HaShabbat, 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 Mizmor Shir, Shir HaShabbat. Kolod Mayim, Mayim Rabim, Mahirim, Mishmareyam, Adir Bamarom, Adonai, La 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 la, la 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 מלכותך, מלכות לעולמים, ממשלתך, בכל דור ודור, מלכותך, מלכות לעולמים, ממשלתך, בכל דור ודור, מלכותך, מלכות לעולמים, ממשלתך, בכל דור ודור, מלכותך, מלכות לעולמים, ממשלתך, בכל דור ודור. ואנחנו נברכך, ואתה ביד העולם, ואתה ביד העולם. Hallelujah, 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 it's Shama. Hallelujah, hallelujah, it's Go and Shama, hallelujah, 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 go and Shama, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. La 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 la. La 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 la. Please be seated. We continue on page 16. Mostly take care of things. Melodies, even the King of God. Not as he wonderful all on they sing the Satan, the sun, the Voam, oh, sing the aim, my red song, I'm not me, which was all very not, is a Shermafuto, for all the Shamashit, what is that? La 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 I'm glad we figured that out.
These musical chairs.
Or Adonai, Yosher Ami Abba Rabba Avtanu, Adonai Eloheinu, Elohim Olam Amata Aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Ba'avur Avoteinu, Shebakru Lecha, Shebakru Lecha, Avinu Malkeinu. Atem Bandeinu Lechaim, Bandeinu Bandeinu, Avinu Avarachamai, Avarachim Rachem Aleinu. We are at the bottom of page 16, and if we are wearing a talit, we gather the four corners. V'havienu l'shalom v'yivachem for the aretz. V'tolicheinu kumimut liyotzenu ke'empet el Yeshua ata. Uvana v'chartem b'kolam v'lashon v'keratanu v'shimcha hagados el be'emet v'lahodot l'cha v'lechetcha b'yahava baruch ata Adonai. Locher b'yamo Yisrael b'ahava. Shema Yisrael Adonai V'ahavta et Adonai b'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol ne'edecha v'hayu ha'dvarim ha'elim asher anochi misavecha hayom alecha V'shivtecha beitecha u'lektecha b'derech u'shamtecha u'mekumecha 18. The Lord said to Moses, speak to the children of Israel and bid them to make tzitzit garments
Their generations.
putting upon the tzitzit of each corner of thread of blue. When you look upon the tzitzit, you will be reminded of all the commandments of the Lord and obey them. You will not be led astray by the inclination of your heart or by the attraction of your eyes. Thus will you be reminded to fulfill all my commandments and be consecrated to your God. I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am the Lord and your God. Azot, azot, shibachu ahuvim, shibachu ahuvim. Ve'romimu, 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 ve'natenu, ve'natenu yedidim, ve'natenu, ve'natenu yedidim. Shirot v'tishbachot v'rachot v'hodaot v'melech el chai v'kayam ram v'nisam gadol v'nora mashpil geim umagbiya shivalim Motzi asirim vode anavim v'yod zedalim v'yonele amo v'yeh shabam elam Hilo le'el elyon baruch mevorach Moshe v'nei Yisrael lechanu shira b'simcha rabah v'yamru chulam mi chamocha v'elim Adonai Milohan Bakodesh Noratino Shirah Hadashah Shibachu Gedulim Lishimcha Svat Hayam Yachat Kulam Hoduvim Lichu V'Yamaru So before we continue with our own private prayers of thankfulness, we're going to share what we as a community are thankful for. And this is anniversary Shabbat. And so we have some June anniversaries. When I call your name, if you are here, please rise. And if you're not here, rise anyway. So we're celebrating their 60th, and I'm going to mention everybody on our list because some people may be online. 60th anniversary, Betty and Owen Dowman celebrating their 60th. Janet and Richard Kirschbaum, is this true? 62 years of marriage? Oh, only 1 year of marriage? What was that? It really is 62 years.
Thumbs up.
Wow, okay. The Spetners celebrating their 45th. Becky and Gary Finley. I officiated that wedding 25 years ago this month. Paul and Paula Frankel are celebrating their 34th. The Seufers, Marilyn and Paul, their 55th wedding anniversary. And Bonnie and David Forsman celebrating 53 years of marriage. I'm going to share a special blessing for all of us.
One more.
Oh, okay, please.
15 years yesterday.
Well, please rise. 15 years of marriage. Wonderful, wonderful. So here is the blessing. Eloheinu v'lehavotenu v'yimotenu, our God and God of our ancestors. We are grateful for the love with which you have blessed and sustained these husbands and wives whose hearts are filled with gratitude to you. Oh Lord, may we continue to enjoy your blessings in our years to come, embraced by the love of our family and our friends, so that we may always live in joy and gladness, in love and harmony, in peace and companionship. And let us say amen, and mazel tov. Mazel tov. And you may be seated. And now let us share what we are thankful for. So please raise your hand if you would like to publicly share anything that you are thankful for in this glorious day. Gary.
Well, we're very thankful. 25 years, it seemed like yesterday. And 25 years is not a long time compared to most of your anniversaries. But the thing I realize is how quickly the time is gone. So, as I tell Becky, love each other, appreciate each other, never take anything for granted.
Well said. Thank you, Gary. Who else would like to share what you were thankful for? Ray.
Yes, I'm thankful that our granddaughter, Emma, after her first trip to Europe, she went with a friend for 3 weeks. They saw a lot, they did a lot, they came home safely, and wouldn't you know it, both girls came home with colds because, the time changes, the lack of sleep, going from country to country, but they had a wonderful time.
Nice. Good to hear. Thank you. Who else would like to share what you're thankful for? Bonnie.
Well, I'm grateful absolutely for our anniversary and that we had a fabulous pizza dinner before we went to the ballet downtown. Just perfect. Our grandson Gavi is in Israel right now. He did Birthright, and then the extension of Birthright is called Onward. And he is an intern for an ice hockey team in Israel, the Ashdod Dolphins. There are 4 teams. Jerusalem, I don't know where the other 2 are from, but anyway, and they won their first game 7-3, and he is having a fabulous time interviewing Israelis who say, ice hockey? What is ice hockey? I like my bananas. It was very
Doing analytics for the team.
Well, he's hoping to be able to do the sports analytics, but right now he's trying to publicize it. So they're on Instagram and they were on YouTube, and we try to promote it to anybody we know in Israel who say, wow, I didn't know Israel had ice hockey team. But it's so much fun, and it's wonderful to see him enjoying the internship. So it's great.
I didn't know they even had ice rinks.
Yeah.
I didn't know that he hadn't been in Israel because I thought Birthright was only for those who hadn't been there. But
They have expanded those who can go. That people who've been there before can go on Birthright. Yes.
Yeah, that must be recent, relatively.
It's been actually for several years.
So if you know any kids who have either been to Israel or not, but would like to go to Israel free, except for airfare expenses, please let them know about Birthright. Who else would like to share what you were thankful for? Davida.
Well, I would like to say I'm thankful, of course, for being here, and that I'm sorry that I missed the walk around Balboa, because Sybil and I never miss it, but I was in Europe. And what I'm thankful for is that I got to go, and I got to walk into concentration camps in Berlin and Poland. But what I'm really thankful for is I was able to walk out, and that was the real Machaya. And also that I was on a Viking cruise, and they make a Shabbat, and so the first, I always like to go there, and so the first Shabbat there was only 8 people, and they had set it up for so many, like wine, and anyway. But then by the next Shabbat, I had recruited, I doubled it, and we were 16 people, which is really an amazing thing. But I felt, good for, that's my shtick, So that is what was there.
I think we have a board position waiting for you. Very good. Jordan, you had your hand up, please.
Yeah, and I'm thankful for the internet and my dubious cyber stalking abilities, because I came across a personal ad in the Chicago Tribune from November 7th, 1901. This was 3 days after my great-grandparents were married, and somebody had put in, married, Daniel Vision and Clara Sunshine. Now Clara's vision gives her bliss, and Daniel's sunshine brightens him. What a happy union is this, if Dan his sunshine never miss, and Clara's vision ne'er grow dim. Wow. And it was signed by a P.A. Gossis, and I went, P.A. Gossis, what? Pegasus. I don't know who that person is, but it was just on a website I found this listing in the Chicago Tribune.
How beautiful. They don't do that anymore, do they?
I don't.
Beautiful expression.
No, they do it on Facebook now.
That's right. Who else would like to, thank you, Jordan. Who else would like, yeah.
I'm actually grateful that my Jewish learning has a daily Kaddish minion in the afternoons.
Oh, good, good. Yeah, the internet is wonderful for people who are in mourning and trying to say the Kaddish with minions who can't get to a shul, but now they can get to a virtual shul. Who else would like to share what you are thankful for?
So, Janet.
Okay, Janet and Richard. Go ahead.
Hello. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Thanks for a lot. I'm hearing people. Okay. Thankful for a lot. We were able to attend Tema's graduation. Don't have that. And then we went to New York. Then literally 2 days later, a wedding of our great niece who married someone from Muncie, New York. Never have we ever experienced the Strymel, the whole wedding of Lubavitchers. And it was extremely interesting for our family, which were only 70 out of the 300. We were able to eat together. But the men were there and the women were there. But what an education it was. But the funny thing is that it was time to daven Mara after the service. And all these people with their Strymels on and their flip phones, they can't have iPhones. They don't know which way east is. So here's my son with his phone, and he told them which way, and he davened with them as well as our son. But what an experience! And we were able to attend one Shiva Brachot afterward as well.
Very nice. Very nice.
And we also sent Barbara Adams' hometown.
Yes.
Say that again about what happened at Barbara Adams' hometown.
We drove through her town.
Right. Yeah.
Rockaway, is that what you're saying?
You went through Rockaway?
New York.
Rockaway,
of course.
Yeah, she is disavowing any relationship with Rockaway.
But it was quite an education. I tell you.
That's nice. Thank you to you both. Anybody else online would like to share? Yes.
I am very grateful for modern medicine, and in particular, a physical therapist that I have at the end of now, but she has been so wonderful and willing to give me information beyond what she was treating me for, and even called in another therapist that specialized in something else. So I am very grateful for that.
Thank you. Who else would like to show you are thankful for? Yes, please.
I just wanted to say I'm thankful that the Los Angeles Jewish Film Festival is going on right now. And if any of you, when Sybil and I are sponsors from our company, but it is such one of the Guns N' Moses movie. We went to the opening, and the movies are so great. So if you get an opportunity, it's until Monday. They're different places, and we should be supporting that because the movies are just amazing. So, and it's proud to be Jewish.
Support the Lemley theaters because they really go out of their way to make sure that.
Yeah.
By the way, there is an app called Mizrach, and it actually calculates what the decision where Jerusalem is in relationship to where you're standing. Mm-hmm. So it's not always just east. It might be a little bit. If you ever watch Lou when he bows with the Torah, he always faces in that direction, right? So but so he doesn't want to not face toward away from the Torah, but that's the direction that he calculated was Jerusalem. And Stan, please share what you are thankful for. As always, I'm thankful for this spot. For now, it's actually more than 15 years that I've had this opportunity to be the last of the sharing, and I certainly have at least as much to share as anyone, or much to be thankful for, let's put it that way. And it started out by saying that, by telling Rabbi Vorspan that what I'm thankful for is the people that came before me and made this world what it is. And I try to emphasize uh, many of these people and the things that in this world the blessings that I have, particularly within Judaism and the Jewish community, and starting with Shir Ami itself. And we celebrated anniversaries, which we do and have been as a family. We're a congregational family. We're more than just a group of people that get together. To me, the idea of family and community is one of the primary values of Judaism in any of its form. Um, so anyway, that's part of what I want to talk about is the Jewish community. It's not only our congregation, but the next level is the other congregations in the area, particularly conservative congregations in our, denomination, then the Reform, Orthodox, the whole Jewish community, and going out to the whole world as a Jewish community. Uh, but one of the other congregations that I've been involved in, and many of you know and have gone with me, is to what's now called Hamakom, which started out as a Temple Aliyah and Shomrei Torah in West Hills. And after a number of years and negotiations, they found that it was to their mutual advantage to combine, which they did about a year ago. And so they renamed Hamakom, the place. And they've had a South Campus, which was Aliyah, and a North Campus, which was Shomrei Torah. Last night is the end of the beginning of the week that's actually going to end what was Aliyah. They've sold the property. That was, part of the idea of putting it together as a financial thing. And my understanding from Rabbi Vogel is they sold it to an organization, a Jewish educational organization, whose mission is to prepare young children for Jewish day schools. So they have classes from the very youngest ages. He's not. The sale hasn't been finalized. He's not at liberty to say what the name of the organization is, but he did say that this is the third campus that they're going to have classes at for that purpose. So it sounds like in the right direction. But so last night at South Campus, Temple Aliyah, as we know, was also another farewell for causing cancer, Mike Stein. Many of you know Mike through Aliyah or otherwise. I got a chance to know him, and actually he spoke to our congregation when we were at the mobile home park. If you remember that Mike was there and brought his instruments or whatever. He has such a unique background in terms of his, show business and other connections to singing and all the things that he's done with his family. He has 4 sons and a wife. All saying they had their own group. They used to sing in addition to other places, of course. Gladys Sturman had a organization that she had an annual support program that they did at Aliyah, and that was one of the first times that, as a congregation, as Shir Ami, that I got to meet the people there. I kept in touch with many of them, and we know that we have a very small family. We can't do everything, but what we do have is the closeness of what we have, and we have the opportunity to go to other congregations that do have more opportunities for learning and for other things that we can't do. And so for me, Temple Aliyah, now Hamakom, is one of those organizations. And it was a glorious evening last night. Sheila and Judy and I went to this concert, lasted over 2 hours. It was a concert service because they did, part of it was called 23 Years, 23 Songs. Mike Stein had been there for 23 years, and he's a composer of lots of different liturgical type of music in all different styles. He's done rock and gospel and everything under the sun, and he had a group of musicians there, including his family. It was wonderful. So, okay, that part of what I wanted to talk about very briefly. I want to say a few words about March of the Living that, of course, Rabbi and Bonnie just returned from, and their wonderful experience. For those who don't know, this organization has been going since the mid-1980s. It's primarily for high school students from all over the world that come for Yom HaShoah and go to Auschwitz, Birkenau. They have a week in Poland with an optional week in Israel. They do adult groups too, of course, that Bonnie and David went to, and that I went to in 2006. I did an adult group for the March of the Living. And they're going to have a chance to tell us their experience next Wednesday night on Zoom. Prepared something that I'm looking forward to, and I know we'll have a great turnout on Zoom, and it will be recorded for those who can't possibly make it at that time.
Thank you. Well said. Thank you, Stan. And let us all now, so that'll be 7:30 on Wednesday night. By the way, we'll send you the link during the course of the week. Thanks, Dan. So please rise as we continue our own private prayers of thankfulness. Sur Yisrael, Kumad Yisrael, Ufdei Meha Yehuda Yisrael, Tzvaot Shemo, Kedosh Yisrael, Baruch Atah Adonai, Amar Yisrael. We continue quietly. We move away from the prayers in the prayer book to the meditations of our heart. Shalom Tova Uvracha Chei V'Chesed Chesed V'Rachamim Aleinu V'Yakol Aleinu V'Yakol Aleinu V'Yakol Yisrael Shem Shalom Tova Uvracha Hey, Chesed v'Rachamim, Shalom Tova Uvracha. Hey, Chesed v'Rachamim, Aleinu v'Yavo Yisrael Amecha. Aleinu v'Yavo Yisrael Amecha. Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha. Ein v'chesed v'rachamim, Oseh shalom, 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 b'roma voyah, Oseh shalom, aleinu, Oseh shalom, shalom, shalom. In Roma Booyah, Aseh Shalom, Aleinu Yisrael, Ve'imru,
Please be seated. Yitkadav, Yitkadav Shmei Rabbah. Yamad Rachiru Tevim, Machmachate B'chai Yechon, V'yamechon, U'b'chai Yechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala, U'b'zman Karivi Yamaru. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevorah. Yomaya Yitvarah. Yibrach Yishtabach V'poar, K'mam Minasei, V'yitadar, V'yiliv also made a Kudishah. V'yilei Lamin Chover Chatav V'sharata. Tushbechata v'nechmata ta'amiran b'yoma v'yimaru. Amen. Yitgabel shlarhan v'adhon d'chol Yisrael. Kadam avon yishmai v'yimaru. Amen. Yishma marabu v'tamayim v'chayim aleinu v'akol Yisrael v'yimaru. Amen. Hoseh shalom b'mromav v'yaseh shalom. Aleinu v'akol Yisrael v'yimaru. Amen. We come to the Torah service on the middle page 19. Let's give out some honors. Who would like the honor of carrying the Torah through the congregation? Blue. Who would like the honor of Hagba, picking up the Torah? Mo.
Oh, okay.
You haven't done it in a while, right?
I did. I didn't do it last time. I did 2 weeks ago. A month ago. I'm more than happy to do it.
That was a month ago. Okay, thank you. Who would like the honor of Delilah, wrapping the Torah? Thank you, Ray. And we continue our service, page 19. By the way, the words Vayehi benzo Aaron Vayomer Moshe are in the Torah portion for this Shabbat. And in fact, it's separated uniquely. The only time in the entire Torah that you will see this, there are nuns at the beginning and the end of these couple of lines. And we sing these words, Vayehi benzo Aaron Vayomer Moshe, right? We'll rise, we'll open up the ark. And people don't often look at what the words actually mean, but the words mean, and you will see these about 3 lines from the bottom of the page. Arise, Lord, may your enemies be scattered, may your foes be put to flight. Torah shall come from Zion, the words of the Lord from Jerusalem. So these are the words that we're going to be singing during our service, and they were written thousands and thousands of years ago as the Jews were even then under threat of being attacked by enemies. We continue on the middle of page 19. Ein kamocha v'Elohim Adonai v'ein k'masecha Malchut kol olamim Umemshaltecha b'chol dor v'dor. Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Adonai lo yitei, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. Avarachamim etiva v'rzotcha et Zion. Tivnei chomot Yerushalayim. Tivnei chomot Yerushalayim. Kirecha levadecha melech Yoram v'Nisa Adonu Ami. Vayehi benzo Aaron Vayomer Moshe Kuma Adonai Ve'afusu oimecha Ve'anusu misanecha mipanecha Ki mitzion teisei Torah Ki mitzion teisei Torah Udevar Adonai Yerushalayim Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah Ve'chol Yisrael B'Yishrato Ve'be'anarachet Ve'lishmei Kadisha Kadisha Yakira Ana Amartu Shechan Ve'anarachet
haaretz, ולשמי קדישה, קדישה יקירה, הנאמר תשפחן, יקירה קדמה, ותפתח ליבי באורייתא, ותשלים בשלים דליבי, וליבד עולמה ישראל, לטובו לחיים ולשלום.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo.
Lecha Adonai Hagidura,
Hagidura, V'hatiferet, V'hanetzah, V'hahod, Ki kol b'shamayim u'ba'aretz, Ki kol b'shamayim u'ba'aretz, Lecha Adonai ha'mamlacha, V'ha'mitnaseh b'chol rosh, Metzion tetzei Torah, Metzion tetzei Torah, Ki Metzion, Ki Metzion, Metzion tetzei Torah, Metzion tetzei Torah, Metzion tetzei Torah, Ki Metzion, Ki Metzion, Metzion tetzei Torah. We have our Kriyilu Aliyah. The Torah portion is Baha'alotcha. It describes after having received the Torah at Mount Sinai, the Israelites are ready to begin their journey. And the details as to what that journey will entail, when they can march and when they couldn't march, is going to be designated by some of the instruction given in today's Torah portion, including that God is going to let the Israelites know when it's time for them to get up and move, and they had better be ready in a moment's notice, because a tent is going to begin to move, and a cloud rather, and they're going to have to follow it. And what is interesting is that God kind of says, don't go anywhere until I show you. And sometimes it's going to be for a couple of days, and then you're going to move on, and maybe a week, and maybe a year or two. And sometimes the Israelites would end up in some crabby little place. Crabby little. I don't get the peas. And they were going to be stuck there, and sometimes some Israelites were get the heck out of here. This is like a bad part of town, and let's move to a nicer location. But they couldn't move an inch until God gave them the word. And that is going to be part of our Torah portion for this Shabbat. So point right here. And we join together. Baruch Hu Adonai Hamorah. Baruch Adonai Hamorah. Baruch Adonai HaBorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bahar banu mikol ha'olim. V'na'atan lanu et toratav. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Adonai Moshe Lemor, Daber el Aharon, Diamarta elav, V'ha'alotecha et hanerot, el mul pnei menorah, Ya'iru shivat hanerot, Vaya'as ken Aharon, el mul pnei menorah, E'ela neroteha ka'asher. Tziva Adonai et Moshe, v'zeh ma'aseh hamenorah mikshah ad yirecha ad pircha mikshahi kamareh asher hera Adonai et Moshe henasa et hamenorah.
Again. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher natan lanu Torat emet. V'chayei olam natan b'tochenu. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah. So if any of you want to see what I was telling you about with the nuns, it's this sentence right here. There's a nun there and a nun here. In the words Vayehi b'nto Aaron, Yomer Moshe, what we just sang, we took the swords out of the ark. But these are the two nuns unique in the entire Torah that separate the sentence from the rest of the Torah.
We have some more lookers.
Go on.
What does the nun say?
Yeah. Just to separate the nun itself doesn't signify anything other than it's an arbitrary letter.
It has a shape though that
Kind of like a bracket.
right, a bracket type shape.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Please be seated. Yes, you go. Sorry, yes, you go. I get so excited about the nuns.
Keep practicing.
Right.
Anybody not get a sheet?
I don't have one. Thank you. Thank you.
Exactly the right size.
Anybody else need a sheet? Okay.
We didn't
Janice said she needs one.
Too bad. Be able to share a screen.
When I was a little kid, my parents thought it was very important for me to learn how to play an instrument, sing with my sister. And so they always began us with the piano. So ever since I was a very little kid, I began taking piano lessons. I actually ended up taking the classical piano lessons all the way through college. But there was a point that I wanted to start learning a new instrument. And so when I was in what used to be known as junior high school, so I was about 12 years old at the John Burroughs Junior High School, right, our old alma mater, right? I said, they have a beginning winds class here in junior high. I wonder if I can take it and learn how to play a new instrument. And of course, it's free. So yeah. So what was the instrument I decided to play? It was the trumpet. So I took a year of trumpet lessons in this beginning winds class, and I really liked it. So that when I became a bar mitzvah and I had all this money that I got from my bar mitzvah, my parents said, "What do you want to do with the money?" And I said, "I want to buy a trumpet." So I have my own trumpet. So they investigated what's a good trumpet for somebody who just had taken lessons for a year. And so a musician friend of theirs that was a professional musician said, "Well, I would recommend a second-hand Martin," which in those days was like $8 at Fedco, you know. And so they came to me and they said, "We're not really sure that this is something that you may not be so interested in, and try it out and get a cheap trumpet and you play that." I would have nothing to do with that. I said, "No, I want the best trumpet available." So my parents did some more investigation and discovered that there was a man who lived in Burbank, California, who made trumpets, and his name was Benge, Benge. He made the best trumpets in the world, amongst the best trumpets, along with Besson and Bach. He was considered to be the great trumpet maker. And so we drove out to Burbank, where his studio was, and we paid for a trumpet. We bought a trumpet that he had just made. And he showed it to me, and it was just gorgeous. He said, "You'll have to come back again in a couple of weeks so we can shine it up and get it all ready for you." So when we went back again 2 weeks later, so remember, this is most of my bar mitzvah money, and I was 13 at the time. And when we went back to get it, everybody was in mourning. Why were they in mourning at Mr. Benge's factory? Because he had just been killed in a car accident the week before. And this apparently was the last Benge trumpet he ever made. And I now own it. I played trumpet all the way through high school when I was the first trumpet player in the band and orchestra. And I performed the Haydn Trumpet Concerto as part of one of our concerts. And then when I went into UCLA, I followed in Stan's footsteps, where he also played in the marching band. But I played in the concert band. And I became the first cornet player. Cornets and trumpets were essentially the same. And so I became the first trumpet player there. I also dabbled in French horn. Once you know a brass instrument, you can play almost any. It's like woodwinds, right? If you know how to play the clarinet, you can play the oboe and the sax and everything. So but I played trumpet all the way through college. I still have my Benge trumpet, by the way, and I still love the sound of a trumpet. And that's why anytime I see the word trumpet, I immediately gravitate to it. And that's exactly what I gravitated to in our Torah portion this Shabbat. So I want you to take a look at the sentence that I chose. Oh, no, this isn't the one about the trumpet. So forget it. This is the one about the lamp. So I'm sorry, but I just love telling you the story about my trumpet. But
it's a new story, David.
Yeah. When are you going to bring your trumpet instead of your guitar? Right.
Well, someday I'll do a performance for you.
And it's hard to sing and play at the same time.
So I will, in honor of the story that I just told you, I will read to you what it says in the Torah portion. So listen to what this says. So this is what Bonnie began to read. And the Lord said to Moses, "Have 2 silver trumpets," and in Hebrew it's chatotra, well, the same word that we use today, "and make them of hammered work. They shall serve you to summon the community and to set the divisions in motion. When both are blown in long blasts, the whole community shall assemble before you at the entrance of the tent of meeting. And if only one is blown, the chieftains, heads of Israel's contingents, shall assemble before you. But when you sound short blasts, the divisions encamped on the east shall move forward. And when you sound short blasts a second time, those encamped on the south shall move forward. Thus short blasts shall be blown for setting them in motion, while to convoke the congregations you shall blow long blasts, not short ones. The trumpet shall be blown by Aaron's sons." So hopefully they went to junior high school and learned how to do that. "And they shall be for you an institution for all time throughout the ages." So what I find fascinating about this whole thing about the trumpets is that it was like the Morse code. It's like this is the way in which they gave instruction here. Long blast, short blast, it was on this side, it was on this side. And it became the important instrument to show the Israelites when it was time to march and how the line is supposed to progress. That having been said, we turn our attention now to something else that was mentioned in the creation of the Torah, in the Torah portion, and that is the menorah. What was interesting is that if you go to Jerusalem today, and I'm going to show this to you on Wednesday night when we show our presentation, there is a representation of the menorah that's described in the Torah portion for this Shabbat. And the description is interesting because it becomes the 7-branch, not the 9-branch that we use for Hanukkah. It became the 7-branch candelabra that was eventually replicated on in the front of the Knesset on a stamp in Israel. They have, but there are people who, as soon as they blow up the Muslim mosques on Jerusalem's Temple Mount, will then create the Holy Temple of Jerusalem. And one of the things that they're going to, there really is an organization that does that's looking forward to this.
Wants to do
Yeah, they want to do this because they say those mosques, the Dome of the Rock and the Al-Aqsa Mosque, they are where the Holy Temple should be. And so that we're going to blow them up when we get the opportunity. Then we can reinstitute the Holy Temple, reinstitute the sacrificial system. And one of the things that we're going to need is this menorah. So they actually created a menorah that you can see today in Jerusalem. It's made of gold. It's been valued at $30 million. And it is in a gold, it's in a case. It began in the Cardo. So if any of you have ever been to Jerusalem, when they discovered the Cardo, they put it there. And then a few years later, they wanted to move it to a place more prominent and closer to where the Holy Temple eventually was going to be built. And so they moved it to in front of the Western Wall. And then they began to do all sorts of construction and stuff like that, and it was in the way. So they had to move it to where it is now, which is in the Jewish quarter of the old city. And you will see, you remember the Hurva synagogue, if you've ever been there? It was one of the great synagogues in Jerusalem. It was destroyed. They made a symbolic representation of the Hurva synagogue with an arch. And you used to go there for years to the Jewish quarter and see that arch. You go there now, the arch has been filled in. Now they created the entire Hurva synagogue that you can go to, and in front of it is now this golden menorah. Now, the creation of the golden menorah is what we're going to be taking a look at, a little aspect of this, because it's really going to highlight something about Aaron. So look at the words now that are in front of you. Speak to Aaron and say to him, when you mount the lamps, let the 7 lamps give light at the front of the lampstand. Aaron did so. He mounted the lamps at the front of the lampstand as the Lord had commanded Moses. Now, from this sentence, can you imagine any lessons that could be learned from this? Well, Rashi did. Take a look at number 1. Rambam, Maimonides, ruled that according to the lighting of the menorah is permissible by an outsider, but the preparation of the oil and wicks is prohibited to outsiders. This provides proof that the preparation for a mitzvah is greater than the mitzvah itself. There's an important lesson here, because the Olympic trials are going on right now. And there was a person who was going to be the best pole vaulter to represent America, who was going to represent us in the Paris Olympics. But something terrible happened this week. He didn't qualify. He missed one of the opening jumps. He just kind of had a freeze, and he knocked it over with his elbow. He was way over the bar, but it was his 3rd attempt, and you only get 3 attempts at each level, and he accidentally knocked it over, and he's out of the competition. He has been spending years preparing for this moment. How do you console somebody who has put so much work into something that now he can't do? There is another person who is going to be in the Olympics representing America. She she was the second person after Caitlin Clark, who was considered to be the best collegiate basketball player, who ended up in Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. She tore her ACL this week, and she was going to be in the Olympics representing us, and now she can't participate. What do you say to people who have put a lifetime of effort into something and then they can't do it? So maybe part of the answer is the journey is as important as the ultimate participation. I don't know what else you can say to someone, but look at every experience that you had to get you to this point. And even though you can't get across the finish line, getting to where you were now is equally as important. In Judaism, the preparation is as important as the act itself. So when we create Shabbat, for example, and I learned one aspect of this from my dear friend of blessed memory, Mike, who every afternoon his job was to set the table for Shabbat. So that for the rest of the afternoon, everybody would walk through the house and they would see the white tablecloth and the Shabbat candlesticks and the Kiddush cups, and everything was ready for Shabbat, and they would have all afternoon to get themselves ready for Shabbat. And so I do that. Now that has become part of my responsibility, is to get that Shabbat table set in the afternoon so that we can anticipate Shabbat for the rest of the afternoon. The preparation for Passover, all of that work that some people work for a month doing, is as important as actually celebrating Passover itself. So this is an important lesson as to how we can take Jewish ritual and make sure that we don't just do the quick job of it so that we just do it. Rather, think about ways in which we can prepare for that moment so that it really heightens the anticipation. Look at number 2. One must light the wick until a flame burns by itself. That's what Rashi said. A person must accustom himself or herself to God's work through established times and perpetual care until it becomes part of his or her inner being, that the repetition shall cause it to be one part of one's nature, and the inner flame shall burn by itself. The repetition of something eventually seeps into your kishkis, and it becomes something that becomes ingrained within you. But we're going to have another rabbi who is going to question that. Look at number 3. To tell us the praiseworthiness of Aaron, who did not change. So that's what Rashi said. Rashi said, commenting on, as the Lord had commanded, in the italics, the original Torah portion. What does that mean, as the Lord had commanded? Obviously, you're not going to do it differently. God told you to do it this way. Rabbi Menachem Mendel of Kotz explained that Aaron changed nothing from the way he performed the mitzvah the first time, not in his approach or his feelings. That over the 39 years of lighting the menorah daily, the task never became a tedious chore, a routine, or an ennui. Rather, the excitement and the passion of the first lighting was with him all the time, without change. I want you to think about anything that you do that's tedious, that is grunge work, that is just boring. But you know it's got to be done, whether it's emptying the dishwasher or brushing your teeth. Think about people, you know that sous chefs are the second most important chef in the kitchen. And their job is to slice the tomatoes and prepare the salad and to chop up the lettuce until they're good enough that then they can begin to do other stuff in creating recipes. But think about the person whose job it is to work the assembly line, to chop the lettuce, to be in a play on Broadway. Every single day, you're doing the exact same performance, sometimes for years. How do you get through that without the tedium killing you? Can any of you think of anything that you do today that you just do it to get to do it, but it's not fun, it's just tedious? So that is the amazing thing about Aaron. Even though he had to take the wood and he had to move the wood and take the old wood that had been burned and replace it with new wood, whatever it was that he had to do, it was just boring. But he did it, and he never lost his ardor. He never lost his enthusiasm. Every day it was something that he did to satisfy the fulfillment of a mitzvah. But the question is, how do we take the things that we have to do over and over again? And by the way, any of us who have ever had a job or still have a job where we get up in the morning and look forward to doing it, be thankful. Because I would imagine there are lots of people who get up in the morning and they say, oh my God, I got to do it again. I got to go through that again. Trying to keep the joy that apparently Aaron had. But now we have one last commentary. Look at number 4. This is from a lesson recently from Rabbi Yisachar Freund. This year, we are sharing a vort from the Ishbitzer Rebbe, he says in his lesson, which also tries to understand this Rashi, but has a totally different take on the question. Remember that Rashi was that he did everything, but he always did it without changing it, but with enthusiasm. The Ishbitzer says that the word Shina, so in Rashi's expression, Melamed Shelo Shina, he did it without change, can mean something else. It can mean that Aaron never did it the same way twice. He didn't repeat. Each day he had a different kavanah, an intent or a focus, when he lit the menorah. The hadlakas ha-menorah, the lighting of the menorah, of yesterday was not the same as the lighting of the menorah of today, and tomorrow will yet again be a different hadlakas ha-menorah. Those of us who do find tedium, who do find ritual boring, who do find saying the same prayer over and over and over again, maybe we need to come up with a different motivation. And that motivation is known as kavanah. How can we change our mindset so that it becomes something that we continue to find satisfying? So the only way that I can relate it to what I do on a regular basis, saying a prayer over and over and over again, how do we make it fresh and important, is changing the kavanah. The words of the prayer can be the same. Changing the kavanah is changing what the meaning is. So I'll just give you one quick example. Before we do a meal, we always say a blessing. Before we have a meal, we say either a hamotzi if we're going to have bread, or shahakol niyeh b'dvaro. We are praising God for all the things that have been created. And the question is, how do you say that every single meal and keep it fresh and important, so you're not just saying words after a while that are by rote? And the answer is changing the intent, the kavanah. So for a while, I began to think about all the starving people in Europe back in the old days. Then I wondered if they're so starving, how did they get to Europe? It's expensive to do. But then as I grew older, I began to think, well, you can only think about starving people so often, and then it kind of loses its motivation. So then you begin to think of other people and food. So how about people who have anorexia or bulimia or some other illness that prevents them from eating? Or people who struggle with other aspects of the eating process? How about older people whose teeth have gotten to the point where they just can't chew anymore? I had a cousin who had work done on his lower jaw, and they had to break his jaw and then reset it. And then they said, you can't eat anything for 2 years. Wow. All you can do is suck through a straw. And he did that for 2 years. We had a student here who had the same process done on her jaw. And it was a terrible experience for her. But the way that she got through it was thinking about what it's going to look like when it's all done and how she's going to live the rest of her life really enjoying eating. Think about anybody else whose issues of, how about people who have diets and there are certain foods that they just can't eat? They'd love to eat that brownie, but their toleration doesn't include that. Or they have other kinds of diets, or they keep kosher. And they can't eat all that sumptuous food that everybody else seems to be savoring so much in Las Vegas on the all-you-could-eat buffet. It's changing the kavanah, changing the meaning. Some old prayer books that you get will sometimes have little written notes by the owner of the prayer book with their kavanah, that every time they say a prayer, they try to think of another meaning for the prayer, and then they'll write it in the prayer book. So when they get to that, it's part of the davening experience. It will make the sentence more alive. So that's what we need to do. We need to take what Aaron did, which was to maintain his enthusiasm all the time, and figure out a way for us to do that. Sometimes it is that the preparation for that moment is as important as that moment itself. And sometimes it is creating a lesson for what you're about to do, so that then when we do it, it is something that we do with, with vitality and with enthusiasm. So these are the lessons. Not a lot to do with trumpet playing anymore, but the lessons of Aaron. Yes?
I had a question. Trumpet, was that actually shofar?
No. So the shofar is different. So they talk about a shofar and the role that played, but the trumpet was actually a musical instrument that they played.
Really?
More like a bugle, probably didn't have valves, but it was you can see from the description, it was from beaten metal. So it was not a ram's horn. Yeah. So it shows you instruments are very important as part of Judaism, because in the biblical time, that's what the Levites did. When the question was, can we play musical instruments on the Shabbat? The Levites every Shabbat played musical instruments in order to make the service more beautiful. And so that's why we use our guitars. All right, let's do a Misha Be'erach for those who are not well. And I'll ask you if you have any names to mention. Misha Be'erach Havotein, Abraham, Isaac, Yaakov, Yimotein, Sarf, Darach, Havalea. We have Be'erach and Rebecca Cholim. May He who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, and Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal these who are sick.
Mara, Rochelle, Eileen Lawson, Phyllis Schroeder.
Other names.
Yaakov Beros, Ben Shoshana, Anya Bethega, Reba, Shanna Malkova, Sarah, Gerald Stone, Baruch Ben Samar, Mike Levine, Carol.
Robert Bell, Bruce Cabala, Mike Roach, Terry Parsons, Carolyn Birch,
Other names. Other names. Paula and
Solomon, Trey, Madeline,
Thank you. Bye.
Nadav Sella, Pearl, Bob Yehuda, Jane Abson, Nancy Larkin, Fran Winters, Barbara Garibaldi, Maureen Krantz, Bonnie Ritter, Linda Sharp, Nanette Goodfriend, Jody Epstein, Linda Werman, Mina Hersher, Corinne Geller, Rebecca Farber, Brianna Griffith.
Steve Schuster and Sima Schuster.
Thank you.
Barbara.
Alton Page, Jimmy Green, Ariella Barha, Nancy Satin, and Adam Satin.
Thank you. Yeah.
Phyllis and Sheila and the Schusters and Jerry Ford.
Thank you.
Megan Ross, Jerry Ross, Stephanie Ross, Dee Pilo, Elliot Eckerfield, Phyllis, Sheila.
Thank you. And online, please raise your hand, Janet.
Richard, who's having that procedure on Tuesday. And Grant Hacker, Barber, David Iwanski, Brian Day, Russ Salzman, Emily Ops, Sophia Kirschbaum, Melinda Pittler, and Marlene Miller.
Thank you. Anybody else online? Okay, Richard, good luck with your procedure this week. HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yes, Judy?
Sheila and Phyllis and Deborah.
Thank you. HaKadosh Baruch Hu yishlach lehem b'hira v'tzilat hanefesh v'refuat haguf. Toshach le'Yisrael v'nomar amen. May the merciful restore these people to full health and to full vigor, along with all others who are stricken with illness, and let us say amen. We're going to say blessings for America and for Israel. First for America, Rahmanu Yivarech Sotobriki, again aloud. May God bless the United States of America and protect her. And before we share our blessing for Israel and the release of the hostages and for peace to once again reign in the Middle East, I shared this from the stand, giving us some insight as to what's going on in Israel. This is a very fascinating story about dogs. An Israeli startup led by a former commander of the IDF's canine unit has raised $6 million to develop early cancer detection screening centers staffed by Labradors. People from the town of Labrador, apparently. No, they're dogs. Few people better understand the dog's psyche and capabilities than this commander. He was head of the canine unit, and he is the CEO of Spot It Early, which is building an early cancer detection system based on dogs' superior sense of smell combined with artificial intelligence. The user will purchase a home kit containing a surgical mask, breathe into the mask for 5 minutes, and then send it to a screening lab where the mask is inserted into a sniffing station. Several specially trained dogs will sniff the sample. If their behavior, confirmed by an AI algorithm, indicates that cancer is detected, the person will be referred to the medical system for further testing. According to the American Kennel Club, dogs' ultra-sensitive noses can detect the odor of cancer in breath or urine at a very early stage when the disease is far more treatable. Spot It Early trains Labradors to sniff out breast, lung, colon, or prostate cancer reliably from one sample. The commander says this breed has the right set of traits: excellent smelling capability, discipline, and passion to work. See, all the things we talked about in the Torah portion. The company's lab is on a kibbutz where the dogs live and work. Spot It Early is conducting clinical trials with 2 Israeli medical centers, Hadassah and Sourasky in Tel Aviv. And the commander said, his name was Ben Dayan, during the pre-trial training phase, our tests show higher sensitivity and better specificity in detecting early stages of cancer compared to any existing test on the market today. We expect interim analyses in 3 months and will finish clinical trials in 10 months.
Dogs don't make house calls.
Yeah. So let us return our Torah to the ark so we can have the husband go in.
The prayer for Israel.
Thank you. So as the husband Galila, please come forward. Please rise for the prayer for Israel. Amen. Shabbat Shalom. So Israel Israel. So I want you to watch how Mo is going to do it. We're trying out a new system here.
We're breaking the tea here.
Torah asher samoshe b'nei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai miyad Moshe
Yeah, but she has sometimes just There you go.
I think it's.
Nice try.
It's a learning curve. It's my hair always. Programming. Page 24. Moshe Yekaro, Bashamayim Imam, L'Shkinat Tuzah, L'Shkinat Tuzah, V'Gal Elohim, Eloheinu Eino, Emet Malkeinu, V'Beshilato, Kakatu V'Torato, V'Yata Hayom, V'Hashivata, Elohecha, Bashamayim Imamo, V'Aretz Mitachat, Please be seated. However, if you are in mourning or observing yahrzeit, remain standing as we observe these yahrzeits of the coming week. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be for a blessing. Dora Cherney, Stephen Feynman, Albert Kaufman, Louis Irving Bass, and Hannah Rachel Sell. What's the last name? Yes. It got cut off. Any other names that we neglected for this coming week's yahrzeits? Mourner's Kaddish is on page 25. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabba v'yamadi rachi rutei v'yamit malchutei v'chayim echol v'yoechol v'chayim Beit Yisrael ha'agalah v'zman kariv v'yilamu amen v'yesh shemei rabba v'yamit Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yishmar v'yitramah v'yitnaseh Yisgadar v'yistaleh v'yistalal shemei v'yishar v'yichu La'elam v'kol birchata v'shirata Tush v'chata v'nechemata Da'amiram v'alma v'yiru Amen Yehei Shulam ha'rava v'yishemaya Oseh shalom b'mrama Fu ya'aseh shalom Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael Please be seated.
And our congregational announcements will be shared by, yes,
The hostage blessing, did we do that?
we haven't been doing, we just mentioned it.
Okay, sorry.
No, that's okay. We'll be presented by Jordan.
Very short. We've already talked about the Wednesday, 7:30 March for Living. Services next week. That's it.
Services next week.
Yeah.
And we'll be celebrating July anniversary.
So it's going to be a long service because we're celebrating all the anniversaries and all the yard sites for the month of July. Birthdays. All the birthdays and the anniversaries.
For July.
For July. We'll do that next show. Let us join together. The singing of Adon Olam, page 26.
Zooming, yes. Prepare yourself.
Asher Shabbat Shalom.
Should have stood up for Pete.
Extra call, Rabbi.
Thank you. Thank you. How's the heat there in Arizona? Is it about as it is here?
Yesterday was 115.
Oh, that's deadly.
102 or 4.
Oh, you can fry an egg on your.
But there's no humidity. Yesterday there wasn't any.
Yeah. Okay.
Hi, Shiva.
Hi,
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. I'll see you
Shalom.
soon. See you hopefully tomorrow.
Okay.
Sam, I'll see you tomorrow.
It was wonderful.
Beautiful
service.
Thank you. Okay. Goodbye. Shabbat shalom.
Bye. Shabbat shalom.
Where did you find time to do